Hello, and welcome to our lesson on performing division with decimals. Today, we will explore techniques that will enhance your confidence in handling decimal calculations. In this lesson, we'll unlock the methods to divide decimals accurately and efficiently. Here's our plan. We'll start with a brief review of dividing whole numbers to refresh our primary division skills. We'll then introduce the technique for dividing a decimal by a whole number. Following that, we'll explore the method for dividing one decimal by another decimal. And finally, we'll run through diverse examples to solidify our understanding and demonstrate the practical applications of dividing decimals. We'll start with the simple case of dividing a decimal number by a whole number and then move on to the more complex case of dividing one decimal by another. Consider finding 12.5 divided by 5. What we want to do is just carry out long division as usual, ignoring the decimal point. So we lay the operation out in the following way. First, divide the whole number part. 5 doesn't go into 1, so we have to use a partial dividend of 12. 12 divided by 5 gives 2 with a remainder of 2. So we carry the 2 across, creating 25. Then we divide 25 by 5, which gives 5. So 125 divided by 5 is equal to 25. Now we reintroduce the decimal point, placing it in the quotient directly above its position in the dividend. So our final result is 2.5. Let's now look at dividing a decimal by another decimal. Consider 6.4 divided by 0.8. We want to move the decimal point in the divisor, which is 0.8, 1 space to the right. This is so that we can make it a whole number, 8, to proceed as we just learned. To make sure the final value remains the same, we have to move the decimal point in the dividend, which is 6.4, the same number of places to the right. This will make it 64. Performing the same action to both the divisor and the dividend leaves the result unchanged. Now 64 divided by 8 is equal to 8. So our final answer of 6.4 divided by 0.8 is 8. By following these steps, you'll be able to tackle any decimal division problem with confidence. In summary, the key points include converting the divisor to a whole number and performing the same action to the dividend, then completing the division in the same way we have been practicing to get your final answer. Let's dive into some examples to illustrate how to tackle GCSE-level questions on dividing decimals. Let's start with a straightforward example. Divide 4.56 by 3. Start by setting up the division as you would with whole numbers. So now we have 456 divided by 3. Now, perform the division as you would normally. 3 goes into 4 one time, so we write a 1 up above. However, there is a remainder 1 that we must make a note of. This remainder 1 turns the 5 into 15. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. We make a note of the 5 up above and there is no remainder. Finally, 3 goes into 6 twice, so we can put a 2 up top as well. As such, 456 divided by 3 is equal to 152. But wait, we've forgotten something. We have to put in our decimal point. So, 4.56 divided by 3 is equal to 1.52. It's always a good idea when completing a maths question to do something called sanity checking at the end. This is when you compare the numbers given in the question to the number you've generated as an answer. 152 wouldn't make sense as a quotient. In a question where 4.56 is the dividend and the divisor 3 is only a bit smaller. So, we know to go back and make sure to include our decimal point in the correct location. Now let's try a slightly more complex example. Divide 5.25 by 0.5. First, we must convert the divisor. In order to make 0.5 an integer, we need to move the decimal 1 place to the right to give us 5. Then, we must convert the dividend. We must also move the decimal point 1 position to the right in 5.25 to give us 52.5. And finally, we must perform the division as we usually would. So in our example, we will use a divisor of 5 and a dividend of 52.5. 5 goes into 5 once, so we can note a 1 at the top. Then 5 does not go into 2, so we note a 0 at the top and carry the 2 across. Put a decimal point above the one found in the dividend. Then we know that 5 goes into 25 5 times, so we can note that as our decimal. Hence, 52.5 divided by 5, which is the same as 5.25 divided by 0.5, is equal to 10.5. To finish, let's tackle a more challenging example. Divide 45.56 by 0.34. Again, we must start by converting the divisor and dividend into whole numbers in order to perform the division. So, in our case, 45.56 divided by 0.34 becomes 4,556 divided by 34. Next, perform the division. After the following steps, you will reach a conclusion of 45.56, divided by 0.34, equaling 134. These examples should give you a clear understanding of how to approach dividing decimals in various contexts. Remember, the key steps involve aligning the decimal points and converting the divisor to a whole number when necessary. Keep practicing these techniques, and you'll become more confident in handling decimal divisions. In today's lesson, we explored the techniques for dividing decimals, enhancing your confidence in handling decimal calculations. We began with a review of dividing whole numbers to refresh our primary division abilities. Moving onward, we examined the step-by-step process for dividing a decimal by a whole number, emphasizing the importance of aligning decimal points in the quotient. We then tackled the more complex case of dividing one decimal by another. Here, we learned to convert the divisor into a whole number by shifting the decimal point and making the same adjustment to the dividend. This method allowed us to perform the division as with whole numbers and place the decimal point accurately in the quotient. Through various examples, we demonstrated the practical applications of these techniques, thus ensuring a robust understanding of decimal division. By mastering these methods, you are now equipped to confidently solve problems involving decimal division, whether in academic settings or real-life scenarios, like financial calculations. Watch the rest of the GCSE Maths course at Sophos Education.